My name is Marian Dwight, and I'm a lawyer with Michael Best. And we are sitting here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's not even 32 degrees. And we're in Bow Field. And this is where the 15th annual Wisconsin Sustainable Business Conference is going to be. And it's about to begin in a few hours. But I'm here with Johan Lennaba, who's Vice President of Sustainability and Public Affairs for Ahlstrom. He's located in Helsinki. Is that right, Johan?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Perfect. And I'm also here with Addie Teeters, and she is here regionally, and she is the head of marketing, communications, and public affairs for Ahlstrom. Welcome, both of you. I appreciate you being here and participating with me and Michael Best as part of their podcast series. And we want to talk a little bit about sustainability and your participation with it and all the work you've done with it and what Ahlstrom's done with it. And so, Addie, would you please start and give us an overview of Ahlstrom's footprint in the Wisconsin region?
Certainly. Thank you so much for having us today. So Wisconsin obviously is a very rich paper-making state with significant years of history. And we are a part of the global Ahlstrom network, where we have somewhere near 7,000 employees across the globe. We have more than 40 plants and more than 15 nationalities represented. But here in the state of Wisconsin, we have just under 2,000 employees, and we have 4 manufacturing sites in Mosinee, Rhinelander, De Pere, and Kaukauna, Wisconsin. So really the footprint here in Wisconsin also has this more than 140-year history of paper making along the Wisconsin and Fox Rivers. And we just really are an extremely proud group of paper makers and just always continuing to try to innovate and improve what we're doing.
How important is that? 140 years. That is, as we say, a very long time. So, Johan, I was just talking with you earlier, and it's my understanding that Ahlstrom just, under your leadership, by the way, Ahlstrom just got the EcoVadis Award, the Platinum recognition. And would you kind of talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. So the EcoVadis is a ESG or sustainability scoring or rating system. So it's an organization that looks at companies and how they perform in terms of environmental sustainability, social sustainability, and practices around good governance. And this organization, they audit 90,000 companies across the globe. And only 1% get this platinum rating. So this year we were able to get that rating. And of course, we are absolutely delighted and proud and happy about this achievement. But there was quite a lot of hard work behind that. So approximately 1 year ago, or a little bit more than that, so we were bought up by a private equity group of private equity investors. And for them, it was really important that we make a significant step change in sustainability for 3 good reasons. So the first one was that in their minds and also in the minds of Ahlstrom, it's absolutely the right thing to do. So we need to take responsibility of our impacts on the environment and on the communities that we work in. Mm-hmm. And we need to work in a transparent way and really take responsibility of our own actions and impacts. So it's simply the right thing to do, regardless of the costs and challenges and risks. Then in Ahlstrom, I think people, and in other companies as well, so people take pride and get motivated by doing good things for the planet and other people. So it's a motivational factor to work intensively on sustainability. Lastly, I think, and maybe the most interesting aspect is that we really realize that it's a great business opportunity for us. So it enables us to grow, it enables us to differentiate, it inspires our innovation processes. It enables us to develop new products for the markets. And it's actually through the products that we produce here in Wisconsin and globally that we can have quite a positive dent in the world. So we can, for instance, replace plastics. Our filter solutions, they clean the air and water. We have business in the medical side of the industry, which is good for the universal healthcare, for instance. So we can really make a positive contribution to the world through the products. And this was like really inspiring for us. And we developed a completely new strategy for the company where sustainability is deeply rooted in the strategy. And this was one of the reasons why we were able to get this EcoVadis
It
scoring.
sounds like a lot of work, Johan. And it takes a lot of folks, as we say in Texas, to do that. So that's where we talk about the people, the planet, the performance kind of comes with that, doesn't it? So I want to kind of bring us to what Alstrom is currently doing vis-a-vis sustainability initiatives and what you're working on now.
I guess that we can divide our sustainability efforts in two sections. So one is our operational sustainability, meaning that how do we operate in our mills and making sure that we reduce the emissions, work in a energy efficient way, use less water, put less waste to the landfill and these kind of things. Also, there's this operational sustainability. And if we do that well, then that grants us this license to operate. So we are a good neighbor to the communities that are surrounding us. But then a big focus is on the product side. And this is something that we want to explore further. So we have made this commitment that, and it's actually the company purpose, which is quite new now. So we want to protect and purify with every fiber for a sustainable world. And we want to differentiate through sustainability. And for us, this really means that sometimes I put it this way, that sustainability, it's our business. So that's the business of Ahlstrom-Munksjö.
So give us an example. And when I was doing some research, it looked like packaging for food or like the paper or whatever, the fibers that go into that. Is that an example of what you're talking about?
Yeah, that would be a good example. For instance, what we are doing here in Wisconsin. So we can, for instance, replace plastic packaging with paper-based packaging. And our products tend to have less harmful chemicals than many other competing packaging applications. And we really want to make sure that our product, first of all, it needs to fulfill the company purpose, which is to protect and purify.
Right.
Packaging, I mean, it can protect food or increase the shelf life of food, which is element in sustainability. But then also we want our products to be superior from the sustainability performance perspective. So we want to lower the carbon footprint, use less material, develop the products in a very resource efficient way. This is the space we want to.
So my French fries are going to taste a little less like plastic.
They should, yes.
Well, I think you raise a good point with that. Paper is not just paper. And that means that the end use package, there's so much innovation that goes into it. So, for example, in our Wisconsin footprint, we manufacture more than 4,000 different grades, different specific grades. And
4,000?
Correct. Yes. So typically the solution for the end use package or for the supply chain or our customer, it's not an off the shelf replacement. We actually innovate the base papers specifically for what is needed in that end use application. And some of those sustainability factors that have to come into play. Does this product need to be composted? Does it need to be recyclable? What kind of infrastructure is this feeding into? And can that infrastructure support that end of life story of this package? So there's so much innovation that takes place just at the beginning of the supply chain where we are, even down to what specific tree and fiber are we putting into that actual base paper. So it's a really fascinating process. We're at this exciting time where we truly can make a difference, to Johan's point, of reducing packaging waste in the world and also reducing what is that end of life that's going to continue beyond the package.
And back to my French fries, I can put ketchup in my French fries in my package.
And it's going to be grease and oil resistant. And yep, it's a win-win.
I'm done now. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So Johan, I wanted to talk a little bit about how, to get started doing this. I'm recognizing how hard it is and recognizing all the resources that you have to employ in order to do this. What processes did you follow to integrate sustainability into Ahlstrom?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And sometimes it's difficult to start. And of course, here we were pushed by our owners and they wanted us to do better here because they saw that this is a great opportunity for long-term value creation, which they can then capitalize on later on. But we started our process, first of all, looking at our industry. So what sustainability topics are relevant and material for paper and pulp industry? And then we looked a little bit at our company. So where do we have the challenges? Where do we have the opportunities? And that gave us insight on where to focus. And then we looked a little bit what our customers are expecting from us, what are other stakeholders, such as the local communities, the NGOs, the regulators, the legislators, and other external stakeholders, what they expect from a company like Ahlstrom. And based on that, we were able to identify these focus areas for our sustainability strategy and efforts.
Did you do that for the next year or it's 5 years?
It's a long term. So some of the goals are up to 2025 and others are to 2030 and even to 2050. So, for instance, when it comes to climate change, so we have made a commitment that we want to make sure that the world stays, the global warming doesn't exceed the 1.5 degree scenario that was established in Paris. And for us, it means that we need to reduce our emissions from current baseline in 2021 and when we go to 2030 with almost 40%. But we also made a commitment that by 2050, we should be net or carbon neutral, which means that we need to reduce our absolute emissions with 90% in this period of time.
90%.
So sustainability is always there's always this long-term trajectory and goal, but then of course we have milestones along the line. And when it comes, for instance, to social sustainability, so I think a big focus area for us is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we want to make sure that everybody working for our company, regardless of their gender or the nationality or any other attributes, that they are treated in a fair and just and equal way and get rewarded also in a equal way. And the current focus is really to increase the share of females in leadership positions. And there we have a bit shorter term goal because we think that it's important. So we want 40%
Have women in
female,
leadership.
exactly, and by 2025. So that's like a shorter term goal. So it's both long and short.
That is pretty short term. And so it seems like when we talk about the people, the planet, so you're focusing also on that human capital management as we talk about here, and talking about the people.
Yeah.
Seems like that's important to also.
It's absolutely important. And I mean, talent is spread equally across the globe and across the genders. So we want to capitalize also on that. So it's not just the right thing to do, but it's also, we believe it's good for the business.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Was there a particular process you went through to determine what standards you were going to, follow? How did you kind of embark on this?
So I think for us, it's important that we want to adopt this like scientific way of working with sustainability. So we want to back up our claims and our targets and KPIs with scientific facts and evidence. And for that, you can use a variety of different platforms. So we use, for instance, in our reporting, the Global Reporting Initiative. So there are global standards and we are audited against these things. So we want to be like very transparent and scientific in our approach. And we can claim that our products are great, but we need to back up it with evidence that is science-based.
We call that greenwashing here.
Yeah.
Or some call it green swishing.
Yeah.
It's like they're just moving it around and they're saying, oh, we're great. And no one's not really looking at what underneath the covers.
Yeah, there needs to be evidence. Otherwise, it's not credible. And I think also the world is changing in that direction, especially when it comes to younger generations. I mean, they understand these things and they care about sustainability in a different way than maybe the older generations. So they want to see like the facts and evidence behind our products and behind our claims.
And I think since the pandemic, there's been a lot of change in that regard, again, with that human capital management and what the younger folks are looking for. So
absolutely.
This is so exciting what Ahlstrom's doing. So now we've talked about the standards and the areas, but you touch on this just briefly about the targets that you set up. And I know we talked about one about 2025, 40% of the leaders, to be women. So how did you choose those targets?
So again, we choose them based on this materiality assessment. So we considered what's important for our company in this industry and what's important for our external stakeholders. And then based on this kind of dialogue internally and externally, we decided that, okay, these are the things that we need to focus on. And I think it was a good process because we can't do everything. So we need to focus on those things that are most material for our company. So where we have the biggest potential to generate positive impacts for the So
it has to be relevant. What I hear you saying is you took a materiality approach, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And it has to be relevant to your business, your environment.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so we know, you're in Finland and in the Wisconsin area. Are there other areas that you're?
Yeah, we have our global footprint. We are in 14 different countries. So that's an interesting topic that you bring up because we do have to assess the culture of those communities. And it's really important that we take the full culture and the full footprint into account when creating these goals. With the materiality assessment, we also assessed and got feedback from all parts of our supply chain, all parts of our stakeholders. And so that's really how we were able to determine what are our goals, what are our challenges, and what do we think we can achieve. But we also built in some maybe some stretch goals for ourselves. We're not okay with just chipping off the low-hanging fruit. We want to make sure that we are actually setting goals for ourselves that may be a little challenging, but we can do this.
So the stretch goals, as it were, is that you're kind of trying to push that limit, push that envelope, as we talk about. And we talk about the people in Texas, we talk about the cultura in Spanish, the culture. And so it's the environment within which you're working. It's just what you were saying.
Yeah.
So thank you, Addie, for that. So how, Addie, and does Alstrom keep this momentum going? How do you see that this sustainability, I mean, on a day-to-day basis, and then you're looking at these goals and the stretch goals? How do you do that?
It really is infused into every plan that we produce on a day-to-day basis. So, for instance, in Wisconsin, we recently announced that we are going through 2 significant natural gas conversion projects. So really eliminating coal in our processes and fueling our major operations with natural gas. And keep in mind, our operations are quite large. They can be considered almost a small city in the way that we're taking power and operating really heavy equipment. And so for us to do that conversion, not only is it a capital cost for us, but it's a employee training, entire process change, but it's that important to us that we reduce our footprint significantly. And it will, not only in an emissions perspective, but also in a waste to landfill perspective. So the fact that we are doing that at 2 of our major plants in Wisconsin, we've already completed 1, is quite exciting for us. So we make changes like that in those areas, but then it really also spreads into community engagement, making sure that we are being good stewards. All 4 of our plants in Wisconsin are in relatively smaller communities. So we have to be good neighbors, we have to be good partners, and we have to be good employers. So we're really focused just on recruitment, retention, that people side of things. And then, of course, as I said before, just the product innovation. And we're doing such exciting things in that area. And as Johan said, we have to be able to back it up. And so we make sure that we are really steadfast in every step of our product innovation to make sure we have sustainability in mind.
Well, in looking at your annual report, you talk about value creation and you talk about that life cycle. I mean, in Wisconsin alone, with 2,000 plus employees, that has such an impact on the community. I mean, those are families.
100%. And we really pride ourselves in the paper industry that we create family supporting jobs. So a brand new employee starting with our organization as a production spare hand and just learning the ropes, they're going to be able to come in and make a family supporting wage right from the start. The multiplier effect that the paper industry has in the state of Wisconsin is really 6 times of a multiplier. When you think of all of the contractors that we utilize, the businesses that we support. So it's really important when you think of sustainability that our organizations and our plants are long-term sustainable. So if we don't start making some of these step changes now, we're not going to be viable to support these communities and these employees in the future. And we take that responsibility very seriously.
Well, and also each of those employees, they have children in schools, they go to the grocery store, they might even go to a Packers game. I understand Johan's going to a Packers game.
Yes.
Whether he knows it or not, he's a Packers fan.
Whether or not. But I mean, in other words, they are engaging in the economy of the area.
Yes.
And it seems like what Alstrom's doing is helping to support that Wisconsin economy.
Absolutely.
As well as economy in other parts of the globe in a sustainable manner.
And we have multiple generations of employees who have worked at our plants and in our industry that really date back to those late 1800s. So there's another additional responsibility that comes with it. It's truly in our DNA to support this industry, to make something and to put your hands on it and to say, I made this. Right. There's such a pride that comes with that. And yes, like I said, the long-term viability and sustainability of the industry is incredibly impactful, not only for our region, but honestly, I feel like it's a responsibility to truly make the world better long-term.
Well, with all this support to Wisconsin and having employees that are still there from the 1800s, I think that's great.
We're super healthy.
Well, that goes with no plastic in my French fries. I tell you. So, Johan, what were the biggest challenges that you faced and are facing, I would say, in integrating sustainability in Alstrom?
Yeah, I think really good question. And I think Well, one of the major challenges is this trade-off between like short-term benefits and long-term goals and long-term value creation. So, of course, in sustainability, also you need to be profitable in order to fund all the other
Right.
activities that you are doing in terms of.
It takes money.
Yeah, it takes money. So you need to like find a good balance on how to develop the sustainability agenda. That would be maybe one aspect worth mentioning. Then I think that Ahlstrom, and we occupy multiple businesses. So we do everything from food packaging here in Wisconsin to filtration solutions, let's say in Italy, or to medical or surgical gowns in India.
Now, did you also, a part of the medical was the COVID,
Yeah, the test.
the test,
yeah.
right? The rapid test?
Correct.
I was so surprised. That was great.
I think we were one of the biggest producers of those papers where you put the
Thank you
liquid
for
on.
doing that. We needed those rapid tests.
Yeah, it was great contribution also from the sustainability
Exactly
perspective.
right.
But I think one of the challenges was that we have a broad variety of businesses, and then the preferences and the needs depend a little bit on the business and the product. So how to like cater for that and how to manage that complexity. So that would be another challenge that we are constantly like working with. And maybe the third one is that in order to be successful long term, we need to really build a buy-in. So our people needs to take responsibility of the sustainability agenda and the strategy. So I'm heading a small sustainability team from a group perspective, but in order for us to be successful, we really need to integrate the sustainability aspects in the operations, in the HR function, in our governance models. So this integration, it takes a little bit of time, and this buy-in process is important there to make sure that it.
So you have to have buy-in from within.
Absolutely,
So you can have buy-in from without, right?
Well put, yeah.
And you get those lawyers to buy in too now.
Well, it's always a challenge, but I think in Ahlstrom it has been quite, I think, a smooth ride. So I think we tend to like get very motivated by this, and our people want to work in a company that has a clear purpose and is trying to do good things for the planet and the people.
Certainly makes a difference, doesn't it, to get up and when to go to work, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, Addie, I know we talked a little bit about this briefly when you were talking about, the family and the people and all the impact on the community. And so how do you sustain for sustainability to be a natural part of what you do every day and what Ahlstrom does?
I think when we take a look at our regional area, it's the forest products industry as a whole needs to be strong in the Wisconsin area and upper Midwest. And so that actually translates all the way to our landowners and logging operations, making sure that we're continuing to invest in logging operations throughout the state. What are we doing to support converting partners? So we are at the very beginning of base paper manufacturing, but we work directly with other converting partners and packaging engineers around the state and Midwest, and also logistics, education. So I think we have so many opportunities to continue to infuse this region with the strength of papermaking, but we have to look at it with intersectionality and a whole spectrum approach of it's not just about us as paper makers. We need to support sustainable forestry. We need to support the logistics operations, making sure we're reducing footprints and keeping those businesses strong. And we also need to continue to encourage that K through 12 education so that we have future paper makers coming to join us. So I think I look at it as being exciting, some challenges in there, but we have a lot of opportunity as an industry in this region.
So what I sort of hear you saying is that the whole has to be the sum of the parts, right?
100%, yes.
Given that you're the head of marketing communications and public affairs, that's got to be a challenge for you, Addie. And so how do you work through that in order to ensure and kind of coordinate those parts, if you will?
I try to look at things knowing a little bit about everything that's going on. So that means I might need to spend some time out with the landowners and at a logging operation to hear what are their needs and what are some of the challenges that they are facing. We look a lot and we work with Michael Best on this frequently of the regulatory environment. We are not anti-regulation, but we need to make sure it's right-sized and we need to make sure it's science-based. And so we're constantly peeling back the layers of the regulatory environment to say, okay, what can we sign up for and what is not right-sized for an industry such as ours, and how do we educate? And it's, just really educate the whole system on that. But then it's also important to go back to that root of papermaking and understand how are our operations working most efficiently? How are we creating the most sustainable products? And then I get the wonderful job of being able to communicate that out into the world. So it's a privilege, but we need to make sure that we have an understanding of all of those layers and parts behind
Right.
so that what we are putting out to the marketplace is the best product possible.
Well, in order to communicate something, Addie, you have to understand it. So that's a big job. And it seems like you're doing a great job with it. But I know that that is a lot of work because some folks look at communications, well, they're putting out some little something. I'm like, to do that, what's behind it? And when I hear you saying you have to understand it, and it seems like in working with Ahlstrom and with Johan, you seem to really be understanding it. And I think that's great.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege to work in an industry such as ours. And I think Johan and I both have the opportunity to know a little bit about everything that's going on, but we also get to know the people and the parts that go into that. And so that, as I would encourage other businesses when they are truly starting that sustainability journey, to take that time and understand all the parts.
Right.
It's very easy to throw a goal at a wall
Yeah.
and say, let's do this. But if you don't understand all the workings behind it, you're not going to get that internal
No.
buy-in, and you're actually not going to be successful.
No. As we would also say, I'm sorry, I'm doing my Texas-isms, but there might be a kink in the giddy-up.
That's right. A little
Okay.
hitch in there.
And you don't want any kinks in the giddy-up. So we just have a few more things I'd like to address with you guys, if that's fine. Let's talk a little bit about what you see as your biggest challenges. And that's a big question too, right? But, kind of tell us a little about a few challenges and how you are approaching that.
I think maybe to build on a little bit what Addie started there with the regulatory landscape. So this is a landscape that is evolving and moving extremely fast, and a little bit like in different ways depending on where we are on the globe. So Europe is doing some things, and here in US
Right.
you have other developments, and Asia, other things ongoing. So I think for a company, it's difficult to manage this.
Yeah.
And as Addie mentioned, we are not against regulation. We want to be part of the solution. That's really
Sure.
something that we want to do. But I think that the job of the policymakers and regulators, they should say what the goal is, and then let the market and companies figure out how to get there in the most cost-efficient way. Because I think sustainable development and sustainability, it's something that everybody should be involved in.
Right.
And if it becomes too expensive or too difficult, or for instance, regulatory reasons, then we will not succeed. So we are happy to take the goals, but let us figure out what's the
Right.
cost-efficient way to
Maybe we need
get
to
there.
educate those regulators, Johan.
Perhaps, yeah, I think that could be needed.
We're
But that's
happy to do that.
and that's a challenge that we are like constantly having. So the landscape is changing fast, and we are doing our
Yeah.
best to contribute and support, but it's not always easy.
No, it isn't easy. And from some of the work that I've done in the different states and also outside of the US, I mean, you've got all these countervailing interests and different regulations, different laws, different policies, different ways of implementing maybe the same law, but they implement it differently.
Mm.
And so it's hard to do that. We need to find a way.
Yeah. Perhaps another big challenge is that if we want to develop a sustainable product, then the full value chain needs to be sustainable.
That is right.
We're a mid-sized company, I guess, but we have still 25,000 suppliers. So in order for us to create a sustainable product, the full supply chain needs to be working towards the same goals. And it's a massive challenge to get everybody engaged.
Right.
So that's another long-term challenge that we are facing.
Well, if we don't try, it won't ever happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Precisely.
So what advice would you give a company that wants to start their own sustainability initiative, but doesn't really know how to do so?
I think it's so important to first assess the knowledge that you have internally and figure out who are your internal experts. But then, quite frankly, it's important to look outside. So do you need to recruit new experts to join your team? Do you need to look at consultants or resources to help you out? I think what we have learned through the process is sometimes we're so close to the process that it's difficult to see where we can improve, because we feel very attached to our processes, or very attached to the work that we've done up to this certain point. It's difficult sometimes to take that constructive view. So you really need to have some fresh eyes and some new outside opinions to help you through that. and to keep an open mind, to realize that when you try a new process or you try to reach a new goal, maybe you might not get there the way you anticipated, but you can pivot. That's been a new favorite word since 2020, and it applies to this as well. But I think you have to remain a little flexible and bendy as you go through this process, so that you reach the goal in the most efficient way possible. You have other advice?
Yeah, I think maybe go in with the mindset that you don't have to solve every problem in the world at once. So start at one topic and move forward from there. And I mean, to start with one topic, I think energy and emissions, it's always a good topic. So, I mean, if we, for instance, just reduce the energy that we consume or that we use in our production, then we lower the emissions, and that's good for the climate.
Right.
So, I mean, to start somewhere, if you don't know absolutely at all where to start from that.
So we call that don't bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah, that's a good way. Yeah, to say it. Yeah.
And thank you so much for those insights, because I think it's a daunting task. And I know folks start out with, you start seeing recycling everywhere, right, in the office. We've had this joke in my previous position about that they used to have big trash cans, and they now decided that each person had to get rid of their trash because they really wanted you to recycle. Mm-hmm. So it went from one trash can to 2,000 trash cans. And so, but the point was for you to think about it, right, and to take your own responsibility. And I think we go through this, and although I think we become more aware of recycling our own products, either at home or at the office, but we don't necessarily think about who we're getting those from and who where we're taking them to, your value creation, back to your value creation. So that awareness is what is so important too. And it seems like you're working through that, not only in-house, but in the communities in which you have your businesses. So is there anything else you would like to talk about and before we close?
Well, I just think we've been grateful for the opportunity. I think this was a really just fantastic way for us to share what we're working on, and hopefully it inspires some ideas from some of the listeners out there. But also, if folks have ideas for us, please send them our way. We're always open to hearing new ideas, especially in this regional Midwestern footprint where we're open to collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I think that was good request. So, I mean, we are happy to also to get the feedback in order for us to further improve our approach to sustainability, and happy to have these kind of conversations with anyone who is interested. So,
well, this is only the beginning. Yeah. It's not the end.
Correct.
So, thank you kindly, and I look forward to more discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's it for today's episode. Thanks for listening. To hear more episodes and catch up on the latest legal hot topics, please subscribe and check out our insights page at michaelbest.com. We'll be back soon with more insights on ESG and the legal landscape.